Hi, everyone. Welcome to DomainSherpa. Today, we take DomainSherpa to Clubhouse, where we have an audio-only session to discuss current events in the domain space with Drew, Ammar, Braden, Josh, Chris, Mike, and more. We talk about the GoDaddy Brent Oxley issue, the Internet Commerce Association and the great work that they do, the cancellation of NamesCon Europe 2021, and we get into a really cool discussion comparing wall.com and cold.com, two domains both recently purchased by Sherpas. We end up closing with a conversation about Handshake domains and some interesting things happening in that space as well. It's a fun show with a ton of great content, so check it out. Welcome, everybody, to DomainSherpa Clubhouse. We are doing a Clubhouse session right now live here with a bunch of folks on the panel and a bunch of folks in the room as well that we're going to look to post on DomainSherpa once we're done. So really excited about this. We got a great group of folks already here. Just to do a quick roll call, we've got myself, JT, host and producer of DomainSherpa. We've got Andrew Rosner, Josh Reason, Mike Cyger, Braden Pollock, Chris Zuiker, Ammar Kubba, as well as a whole bunch of folks in the room. And like I said to everybody before I started recording, we'll go ahead and anybody that wants to jump up, please feel free to raise your hand. We're going to just start talking through some different things and, all related to the domain space and the digital asset space. And just remember, this is being recorded. So by raising your hand and participating, you are consenting to being recorded and posted on the podcast. So with that, let's go. So guys, welcome. Appreciate you all taking your time to come on here and hang out with us. So what's up, everybody?
Hey.
What's up?
Yo.
Howdy.
Good to be here.
So I've got some topics to talk about, but we don't have to let that necessarily drive the conversation if anybody has anything that they want to lead with. So
you want to just introduce the panel, like a short intro?
Yeah, well, why doesn't everybody, we can go around the room and everybody can kind of give their 30 seconds of who they are. So that way it's, that way folks know. So go ahead, Drew. Why don't you go ahead and give your quick bio?
It's so much better when you do it, JT.
I know, but
you are the
I know.
master. But
I want an intro like you gave Josh. I want an intro like you gave Josh on the last DomainSherpa.
I know.
That was money.
I have to prepare.
And you've known us all for years, so you might as well just do the intro.
All right, fine. So, all right, here we go. So first,
wait. No. You should rap the intros.
Check.
We will beatbox and you.
Yeah. All right. First of all, ain't nothing new. I'm gonna give a shout out to my homeboy Drew. No, I'm just playing. But
well, if anybody has not listened to the it was the last one or the one before where you did the rap?
Oh yeah, it was the one with Matt Overman. So that one was from 2 weeks ago. That was where we dropped the freestyle. Yeah.
That was so awesome.
Genius.
Oh, well,
I love that.
Conveniently, you can go to ds.tv and it will take you to our YouTube channel where you can listen to the clip of just the rap. I think it's like the first or second video.
Yeah. Go to ds.tv.
So ds.tv, like DomainSherpa, ds.tv.
And by the way, hashtag life goals. I now just want to be in one of your raps. That's it.
All right, done and
Well,
done.
how do we get Drew to come in with his like R&B voice, just like soft-spoken R&B voice in the background?
I said at a minimum, Drew's got to come in like P. Diddy on the old Biggie tracks, where he would just be
Let's get it on.
and do that whole thing, or just like do the hype man, like ain't nobody stopping us. You ain't messing with us. And all right, so with that, so everybody check that out. That was a lot of fun. Actually, as a quick update, and we did so we just dropped an episode last night with Josh, actually, and we'll talk a little bit about some of that stuff that we talked about on the show. But I mentioned it. So we took that freestyle and went and recorded it for real over the beat, pretty much word for word, and I sent it up to the engineer. They finessed it, so we actually have a completed song with that freestyle, like in the professional version. It came out really good. So we are going to we'll probably mint it just to go through the NFT process, have some fun with it, and then ultimately release it so folks can hear it for real. But
by the way, when we get to not yet, but like when a little later on, let's come back to that, because maybe there's somebody in the audience that can sort of help us with some ideas around that process and sort of how to tie it all together, because I'm really excited about like the community building aspect of the NFT idea and how that could tie into DomainSherpa.
Yeah.
And there's probably some people with smarter ideas in the audience that can help us with that, think about that.
Yeah, because we're doing the diligence, and we've got a decent understanding, but there's no doubt that when you start getting into some of the the more technical aspects and the more nuanced, specialized aspects of a lot of the NFT stuff, that there's a lot of folks out there who know a lot more than we do. So and we actually made that same kind of thing, that sort of statement on the DomainSherpa, the episode with Josh that we just put out, which is we want to collaborate with folks that can bring some of that insight to the table, because we are experts in the domain space. We are becoming experts in I would say almost everybody up on this panel is also an expert in the crypto space, but especially as we start to segue into NFTs and the utility around them, the different technology, that kind of stuff. I mean, there is no doubt we've got gaps that we would love to be able to fill in with folks that really are either super interested, super educated, or just have the expertise to educate us, because educating us will also educate our audience and and help us along the way. So echoing what Andrew said, for all those folks who are in the room now and also listening to this when we publish it, just holler at us. Like we're that's an area where we're expanding, and definitely looking to get some folks community wise involved with us to help just kind of keep doing what we do, and so absolutely. So,
and just to translate JT's legalese, as a lawyer, he did mention he's doing his diligence, which translates to doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So just want to put that out there.
Hey man, if unless we find out different, we're going to Mintable and we're going to do it there. That's what we're doing.
There you go.
Wait, do you know how to make somebody not a speaker anymore?
I'm about to get bumped down to the audience.
Oh yeah.
No, hey,
I totally derailed your intros.
No, hey, that's the thing,
that.
So I'll go around the horn and I'll do the intros. You guys aren't going to get the full treatment because I haven't had time to prepare all y'all's bios, but I do know everybody pretty well. So Andrew Rosner, who is the CEO, Media Options, #1 domain broker in the world, who is also the owner and publisher of DomainSherpa, is here live with us. And as always, it's always great having Drew on. He's also pretty much a mainstay on the DomainSherpa shows. I kind of mentioned him and Shane. Shane will be here at some point, but they're effectively just co-hosts now. It's like the guests, and even the guests, and they've been on enough that it's like it's all part of this community. But anyway, so Andrew is the man. If you don't know, now you know. We've also got Chris Zuiker, who is a senior broker, pretty much the head of brokerage at Media Options. It's not just Andrew. He's not a one-man band at this point, and Chris is one of the best in the business. One of the things I say a lot about Chris is that he spends more time on a daily, weekly basis talking to decision makers around premium domains than pretty much anybody else in the world. So, when we're working through brokering the names that we broker, selling the names that we sell, acquiring the domains that we acquire, either for ourselves or for others, Chris is the guy who is leading the charge out there, connecting with these decision makers at some of the biggest companies in the world, all the way down to, in some cases, not as big, but again, the decision makers at a wide range of different places, all folks that are again, looking to buy, sell big premium domain names. And he is literally the #1 guy in the world at what he does. And so we're very lucky to have him on the team. And so to introduce Chris.
Love that intro. Thank you, John.
You're very, very welcome, man. You're very welcome. All rights reserved, though. If you're going to use it, we're going to NFT the intros. We're going to NFT the intros, and then I get like a 10% royalty.
That was my first NFT. Right there.
Use. So, all right.
You just gave Drew and Chris a lot of love, and I feel like maybe there's some favoritism at play here.
Oh, hey, man. Hey, look.
Listen, you just got to start, paying more.
That's just got to be on the team. Is what it is.
Yeah, speaking about being on the team, so we've got Josh Reason, who is we just had him on the show on DomainSherpa again, that came out last night. So check it out; it's a great show with Shane and Drew as well. Josh has his Digital Fortune podcast, as well as DNWE, which is the wholesale domain marketplace. Zero commission, intended to really create liquidity in the domain space. It has really done a great job with that. It's a great platform. If you're not signed up for it, dnwe.com. Get on there, sign up. His Digital Fortune podcast is one of the more popular podcasts in the domain space. Because of that, and because of Josh's expertise and talent and who he is, we made the announcement yesterday on the show. We'll be sending out a press release, but we'll also mention it here. We are bringing the Digital Fortune podcast under the Domain Sherpa umbrella onto the Domain Sherpa network, where we are going to provide all of the support and help that we do, and in an effort to grow the pie and add content to the Domain Sherpa network, the Domain Sherpa channel, if you will. And so that was an announcement we made yesterday that we are super, super psyched about. So also letting everybody know. So that's what Josh's deal is. And he's also now part of the team. So we're really, really excited about that.
That was an intro for his third favorite person on this panel.
No, don't make me choose. So now we also got Ammar Kubba, no, as if I'm going in some kind of order, you know what I mean? But we got my man Ammar, Afterthought, who Ammar has been there's a lot of stuff. He's a domain investor, super successful, also very successful investor in various different business entities and stuff. I don't know what stuff I'm actually allowed to talk about, but I can tell you that he's got a lot of stuff going on. He's been on Domain Sherpa plenty of times. He's one of the fam, and actually has recently started picking up his blogging again, which I'm really excited about, because I think he's posted 2 blogs so far. And hey, Ammar, I don't know if, where are you posting it? Like, what's the link? Like, where is that at?
Afterthought.com, right?
Afterthought.com.
Well,
That's right.
see, boom.
And thank you for the intro. As long as I'm ahead of Braden, life is good.
So that's what's up. So afterthought.com, check it out. When is the 3rd post coming up? Is it coming soon?
It was supposed to be Wednesday, but obviously today's Friday, hasn't gone up yet, but it's going to be on NFTs. I'm hoping to post it this weekend. I've just kind of been working on it, and I want it to be good.
All right. I dig it, man. Well, so far so
coming.
good, man. The content has been great so far, and so I'm a fan. But so that's
Thanks,
what's
brother.
up. Then we've got the one and only Michael Cyger. I gotta go to
Well,
Braden.
what?
I gotta go to Braden last. All right, for those of you
Yeah.
who don't know, Michael
Oh,
Cyger.
I knew I was going last.
For those of you who don't know, Michael Cyger is the founder of Domain Sherpa and sold it to Drew 5 years ago. But Domain Sherpa is almost about to hit its 10-year anniversary, which is really exciting. I mean, it's been around for a decade. So, and to tell folks who don't know, I mean, we've got the archives. It's available. We'll actually be posting them up on the YouTube channel soon. But right now, DomainSherpa.com, you can go all the way back. And, there's definitely some gems in some of the archives. And you can even, follow along to the extent that you've got the time. There's a whole lot of really, really great content there. Now, Michael is the founder and operator of DN Academy, which is the #1 domain name educational platform in the world. With some amazing tools. I'm more and more impressed every time I go on there and get to see the new stuff that you're unveiling there, and from valuation tools on domain names, some best in class stuff regarding that. And then the actual education around how to be a better domain investor, to understand the domain space, all of the other tools and stuff and information that's available out there, as well as strategies and tactics and everything to be able to really to give people the best opportunity to be successful domain investors. They are the chosen provider for GoDaddy, as well as a whole handful of other Cito, I think, is a partner.
Yep.
And a handful of others. And there have been a few folks who have gone through the program who have now been hired by, domain businesses as brokers or other, in other roles, where their education via DN Academy has actually given them a jumping board to elevate themselves into an actual, job in the space. So, which I think is really, really awesome. So ton of credit to Mike and the work that he's done, and, and what he brings to he's the #1 educator in the space, constantly devoting a ton of time and energy to trying to help people in this space, which I think is commendable. So boom, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Thanks, JT. Great to be here.
Yep. And last but not least, we got Braden Pollock. All right. So now let's get into.
Oh, I knew.
All
God, I wish I could have put money on that. Because I knew that's exactly what you were gonna do.
No, Braden is that dude, man. If people don't know, he is one of the top domain investors, one of the most successful guys who, but it doesn't, not a lot of fanfare. I mean, Braden, most of your stuff, I think, as far as your public persona.
Most of Braden's fanfare is from himself.
No, really.
Oh,
No, really what it
Jesus.
is it's
Man, I'm so glad somebody else is taking the heat.
really for Braden, what it is it's that, most of his public kind of persona activity is doing things like moderating NamesCon seminars, sessions at the conferences, moderating Clubhouse rooms, things like that. Like, so kind of in line with what I just said about Mike, Braden's very, very involved in trying to help the space, trying to be somewhat of a sort of a central figure for facilitating, education and conversations and discussions, as well as being a super, super successful domain investor, and as well as a whole bunch of other, ventures. I mean, again, I don't know how much of everybody's personal stuff I can disclose, but I've, had plenty of conversations with Braden about different businesses that he's invested in, and a lot of really, really cool stuff. And so angel investor, successful domain investor, and all around great guy, which is why he's on the panel here with us. So,
One of the good guys.
So anyway, so with that, now that we're done with this, fanning all of the, the pharaohs up here, let's go ahead.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and actually talk about some stuff. So first thing I've got on the topic is this GoDaddy Brent Oxley situation. So it looks like as of the most recent update that I've seen, they got the locks removed from the domains, and it looks like he's transferred. Have they all been transferred to Namecheap? Does anybody know? Is anybody following what's going on there?
I heard that they did transfer them all to Namecheap, and they're out of GoDaddy now.
So, for the folks who don't know, effectively Brent Oxley, big time domain guy, HostGator, all this stuff, like, very, very successful, been in the space forever, has an incredible portfolio, had some situation involving a potential alleged business partner who is based in India, who filed a lawsuit in India. And then that lawsuit then led to effectively some enormous, $1 million domain assets, create.com and a whole bunch of others, being locked at GoDaddy for a significant amount of time. We're talking months, while he was trying to file cases and he's not based in India, he's based in Texas. So effectively they had the domains locked up. He couldn't do anything with them, which meant deals, right now we're in a super hot market, which meant he couldn't sell them.
I heard he had like $5.2 million in domain sales, like that were teed up that just fell apart because he couldn't sell the names.
Yeah, man. I mean, and that's crazy. And, so interestingly, Paul Nix, who is the head of the GoDaddy aftermarket, he was pretty active on like Name Pros and in other places, just trying to kind of, sort of give the GoDaddy position to the extent that he could. And I thought that was very, good on Paul. Paul's very good with that kind of stuff. He tries to, he's the guy who's out in the space, also Joe Styler, shout out to Joe. But, taking some of that heat, trying to at least let people know what their position is, why they're doing what they're doing. I know a lot of people didn't agree with, they effectively, it's, this question of jurisdiction and controlling law and what do you do? But it looks like GoDaddy has changed their policy now that they're not going to lock domains in the event unless they actually get a court order directing them to lock domains. Is anybody up on some of that, like as far as what their most recent policy update dictates?
And just to be clear, not only was it not a U.S. court order, but it was in India courts, and it was a complaint that he filed that cost
no
him
order,
$12 to file a complaint.
Yeah.
So
and the
totally
court never
unsubstantiated.
issued. The court hasn't issued a decision. The court hasn't issued an opinion. The court hasn't issued a single order. It was simply a filed complaint in India, which has not seen its day in court yet, and yet they took that initiative. I find it to be, extremely alarming, disgusting. I have a number of adjectives to describe it. All of them are quite negative. I understand the position of GoDaddy, and I believe it's more complicated than all of us understand. From what I understand, because they are a registered business in India, that complicates things. I know there are similar laws in China where if you actually have a presence there, then they can basically have jurisdiction over you in other jurisdictions. So, I'm sure, GoDaddy in general, in my dealings, has always taken a very conservative approach in everything. And so I'm not entirely surprised. And I think it is probably more complicated than we're, what meets the eye. I also will say that, there are always two sides to the story. I do think this guy is off the rails, but I also know that, Brent is not an easy guy to deal with in my experience. I do not take much pleasure in dealing with him. And so it's okay. Like, I have nothing against the guy. It's just not an easy guy to deal with. And so, just taking all of that into account, I think there's just more to the story. Yeah. But it is still, nonetheless, as somebody who has the vast majority of our domains with unit registry, which is now wholly owned by GoDaddy, it is extremely alarming to me that somebody in a completely unrelated jurisdiction can spend $12, file a court order, and have names frozen. That's absurd. I mean, there would be almost no circumstance in any industry on any asset class where that would be possible for $12, as far as I know.
Yeah, 100%. The whole thing is just ridiculous. And I understand that there's two sides to every story, and we're not hearing both sides. Large corporations typically don't air their dirty laundry, right? And so I understand that we're not seeing everything, and that we might not be seeing everything from Brent's side. I will say that I've done business with Brent, and he's been fantastic to work with. But I think this is a lesson learned from any hustler out there, any domain broker, anybody that's like finding deals. Get it in writing. Like, if you're sending leads to somebody and you expect to be compensated, like, get it all in writing. And this whole, like, I didn't even look through all the stuff that was posted publicly on whatever sites out there, but the whole thing just seemed like a cluster, and not the way that business should be run.
No. Yeah. By the way, also hats off to Paul, because Paul Nix, talk about a, 5-star soldier. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
they said, hey, dude,
like,
go out there,
like, straight up. I got
take on that
respect
tank
for Paul. Exactly. They were like, look, here's a 9mm. There's a squadron of tanks coming. Go get in front of that. And
good luck, homie.
Yeah, good luck. Boom, slam the doors behind him. And
exactly.
And so,
we'll be right behind you, bro.
Yeah. To Paul's credit, he got out there in the trenches and he just started popping off shots, and he did what he had to do. So
and Joe does that every day as well.
Yeah, and Joe too. So really, like, legit, not even making a joke about it. Like, hats off. Like,
yeah,
that is what you want. That's a strong soldier right there.
Yeah.
I would not want that job.
No, hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no. That's what makes him a great soldier.
Yeah. And I think that was, like you said, rocking a hard place, send him out there onto the battlefield. We'll be right behind you, bud. And then all of a sudden he's looking around. He's like, where'd everybody go? And, he took those shots and, like I said, did a really good job of being out there in the space, trying to, be public about, hey, here's how we're looking at this. This is what they're doing. And I said earlier, shout out to Joe Styler as well. Those guys definitely, they do a great job out in the space representing GoDaddy and those interests and the company, I think, especially
and taking the punches.
Exactly. Yeah. That's absolutely right. We used to have this, my kids used to do karate, right? They had that thing, we used to call it Bob, the thing that you would just beat up on, you know what I mean? That's like, they're like
keep popping up.
Exactly.
Bob or Dad? Is it Dad?
Yeah, exactly.
Got to rename it to Paul.
Exactly. We still had it. I had to go write Paul on it right now. Take a picture of it and send it to him. So yeah, well, but another thing I thought was really interesting about that whole deal is that they worked like, they were involved a lot with the ICA as to try to understand, or not understand, but, get sort of feedback from the domain community. Because it's one thing to just be, fielding these comments, these trolls, and not all trolls, but you got trolls mixed with intelligent folks, mixed with people who have good intentions and bad intentions. But that's where something like the ICA I think really comes in handy, and a testament to those folks as well, because they were working directly with GoDaddy through the process to say, hey, let's talk about what are the real concerns here from domain owners and domain investors and other folks in the space. And I thought that was really, was pretty cool. And credit to Paul and the team too for interfacing with the ICA on something like this, because I thought that was where they kind of, earned their money here. So.
Look, I will support that 100%. I think the ICA, which is a membership that represents domain name registrants, right? They're fighting for our rights in every situation. And the ICA saw this happening, and they, started a conversation with GoDaddy, who is a platinum member of the Internet Commerce Association, and I think helped resolve this whole thing. And if anything, I don't know if they're a member, but like if Brent Oxley is not a member of ICA, he needs to be signing up for like a platinum membership, because this thing got resolved a heck of a lot quicker.
Yeah, I could be wrong. If I am, I apologize in advance. But I do not think Brent is a member, and you are spot on. It's time to cut a check, right? ICA needs your help because they got your back.
Right, they got all of our backs, right? Like all domain name registrants, they're watching out for us, and this is something that needed to be corrected. And it's awesome. I'm proud to be a member of Internet Commerce Association.
Yeah.
It's more than cutting a check, though. It's not even about cutting the check for a guy like that. It's about showing his support and who he is, and what they represent more than anything.
It's about cutting the check.
Well, that's certainly part of it.
It's literally about cutting the check.
Well, how much is the check? It's not that much in the grand scheme of things.
But the check would help, right?
What the check should be is probably like 50 to 100 grand is what the check should be. And then, maybe a $10,000 to $25,000 per year ongoing, membership.
Yeah, that would make him like a
member. Which is in line with what Media Options pays as the highest paying domain broker in the ICA membership ranks. We are a gold member. And, I think that, Warren said, man,
thanks for picking up the slack, Media Options. We love you.
Well, hey, we do what we can, but because I guarantee you, if you call,
it's got to be commensurate. I figure it should be commensurate with market share.
No, you.
I thought it was just commensurate with ego.
That definitely that.
Well, then I'd be underwriting the entire ICA budget.
There you go.
True,
no doubt. But yeah, if you call Camilla right now, Josh, and you're like, hey, I could do one of two things. I could either cut you this check, or I could support. Which one do you want? I'd be.
I think from my perspective, it's going to be the support, because I've brought in a lot of people to the ICA that's probably worth more than my check.
All right. Well,
So,
No, but I think either way, right? And it takes all of it, right? They need funds because for the different initiatives and things that they do. And obviously, putting in some actual elbow grease as well is important, because for those of us who have voices and some the ability to help drive people there, and ultimately they're out there supporting us. I mean, so for the folks who don't know, you've got Camilla, you've got Nat Cohen, you've got Zach Muscovich, who are pretty much the three musketeers that do lion's share of the work there. And, whether they are, and
Tessa Holcomb.
Oh, and Tessa too. Yeah, fair. And, and there's other people too. I'm not trying to undermine anybody else's like contributions or anything like that.
Braden Pollock. Braden Pollock.
Andrew Rosen.
No. The guy from Sado.
Dave Evanson?
No, the lawyer.
Jeremiah.
I'm just playing, yeah. Anyway, so long story sideways is, they're out there doing a lot of different stuff. Check them out. I don't, is it the internetcommerceassociation.org? Maybe did anybody know?
Internetcommerce.org.
Boom. Internetcommerce.org. Check them out. If you guys, as folks who are either new to the space or folks that are involved in the space and have been here for a while, and have had success, it would be a good thing to, that's an important group to support if you can. So, and they didn't know that we were going to bring them up and give them a shout out. So, we're not getting anything from it other than being members ourselves. But I think this GoDaddy Brent Oxley thing is a perfect example though, of where, they really earn their money and really help.
Yeah. And by the way, to the audience, even though I'm being, a little bit abrasive here and I'm shouting out, big numbers, we do give, a very material amount to the ICA as a member, because we believe they do provide a tremendous amount of value to protecting our rights as domain owners. And we have, a lot of valuable domain names. But you can become a member of the ICA for, I believe, as little as $50 a year. There are different tiers of membership and support, but for as little as $50, you can become a member of the ICA, and that is as well a meaningful contribution. And at least it starts there, and then you get to see what the ICA is all about. You get on the newsletter, you start meeting other members, and just the access that you have to the most important people in the domain industry through membership in the ICA, that alone is worth,
if you join the ICA,
priceless.
who will spend up to 4 hours per day talking to you.
Absolutely. So,
And if you don't think that the ICA is going to do anything for you, you're wrong. They are representing your interests. And if you just think about what this community does for you, the access that you have to all the investors that have been in the space for a long time, whether it's blogs or podcasts or right here on Clubhouse, and all the information you get for free, support the community. We support the community. If you're a part of it, you should support the community too. At least for $50 a year.
Yeah.
The ICA.
Well, and like Drew said, there's networking that comes from it. There's a lot of benefits. So I think at the end of the day, and they're out there fighting the fight on these kinds of things, price increases with, at the registry level and, other things like that. There was that article on Circle ID saying, all the domain names are taken by squatters, and Zach, I think, or that one of them responded with a really, thoughtful, informative response article that came out in response.
Smackdown, I believe is what it was called.
It really was a smackdown. It was legit. And, and that's,
but the complaint, I mean, his concern in the first place, I was all up in arms thinking, going into this thing, and you listen to his argument, and it was like, oh my God, okay. It's like barely even worth it to fight back.
I know. Yeah.
But because, there is this sort of socialist element of ICANN, you want to, nip those types of things at the bud, and not let them, grow and blossom. But nonetheless, it was not a valid argument, right? It was a very, very, very rootless argument. But
but the argument of
ICA
so many
good,
people.
ICA good, communism bad.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right. With that. All right. So let's see what else we got. So NamesCon Europe 2021 has been canceled. So when do you guys think we ever going to have an in-person conference again? When's the next time you guys think realistically we're getting together in person?
January, NamesCon back in Austin is my guess.
Yeah.
January, NamesCon Austin. Definitely the next one will be US. Probably, I think you might be ambitious with January.
You think? That's almost a whole year away.
I'm going in January. I'm going in January by myself. So you guys, someone join me.
You know what? I was.
Oh, Drew, you cut out there. But
sorry. Up until this week, I was really bullish on
What was he bullish about?
I was bullish on.
We'll never know. Find out on the next episode of Domain Sherpa.
I was bullish on the rebound from COVID, right? The economic and sort of just freedoms and all this stuff, right? And I have to say, what I'm seeing is pretty scary out there, because basically the U.S. is, and Israel, maybe a handful of other small countries, are like the only places where they're like on track to reach the sort of 60-70% vaccination level that you need in order to like sort of stop one of these types of things in its track. Okay, you don't give it a big enough attack vector in order for it to like sustain a pandemic. And so what's happening is that now you've got this petri dish of people who are some vaccinated with various different platforms of vaccination technology, and with varying pre-existing conditions and genetic makeup. And this virus is playing around in this sandbox of various circumstances, and it's mutating, and it seems to be mutating in more aggressive ways. Luckily, not more aggressive in terms of its
The mortality.
the mortality, but in its ability to infect. It's becoming better and better and better at infecting humans. So I think my best guess is that we are at the start of a third wave, that basically the United States is in a race to achieve, like mass vaccination before one of these mutations takes hold in the US, which there's some indication that it's starting to. Those mutations are already well implanted in many other countries like Italy now, Germany, UK, and so, and then third world countries. So, the way it works with this stuff is like, unless we're, what could happen is like US reaches, that tipping point, and then it sort of just completely locks down again on travel. And you've got sort of bubbles in different places around the world. And that's probably what will happen. But I don't think we're going to see like, okay, world travel opens up and everybody's cool. There will be places where it's cool, and there will be places where it's really not cool.
Yeah.
I think Europe dropped the ball. They went all in on AstraZeneca, then they banned AstraZeneca. Now they're back on AstraZeneca. But as far as all the other vaccines are concerned, they're basically at the back of the line. Brazil just placed an order for 800 million doses of the Moderna. Europe has no chance of getting that now. And so, I think it's a race against time and mutations, and I think we lost. I think there's a
All right. Well,
chance the
hey,
US
let's not to. I don't want to take you off of this. This.
I'm pretty depressed right
Yes,
now.
you do.
so thanks,
Hey,
Chris.
JT,
Yeah.
can you kid
That was
Drew
the-
down to the audience because he's a bummer.
Well, look,
No. I
All I'm saying is I'm going to take my tent. I'm going down to Braden's compound. I'm going to camp out for a while, throw some axes.
So
you know,
let's do
Let's go,
so
buddy.
Let's.
We're going to have a good time.
So here's the deal.
when I called this thing January 18th last year, okay? And I saw how it was all going to play out, and the different pieces. And many of you, I sent you my white paper. I wrote a 9-page white paper of how this was going to play out. And if you go back and read that, it was pretty much spot on. Like literally every single element of it was spot on as to what happened, from the stock market to the way that it was going to spread around the world, to the lockdowns, to the masks, to the whole thing. And I've been giving this a lot of thought. I basically had stopped giving it much thought for the last 6 months. And then in the last month or so, I've really been looking at this hard about, all right, looks like everybody's getting a little too over their skis on, things are looking rosy again. And I don't think that's the case. So, these vaccines, they're not that effective against these mutations. And I think, a couple more generations of mutations and they become completely ineffective. And so it's really a race. And I don't think we made it. I think we lost. I think we got too caught up in politics.
I would.
That was a better take, man. I appreciate that.
It was still. I was going to say, yeah.
I'm still depressed.
I'm still about to jump off the roof, but hey, all good. Thanks for trying.
Listen, there's value in knowing early. There's value in taking a contrarian look at things.
Yeah, of course.
And so, I was very well served. I made more money this year than I've ever made in my entire life. And the vast majority of that was because I took very proactive action in anticipation of what was going to happen. And, that served me well. So,
Yeah.
No, and I think that's a fair point. And hey, just to, we were talking about this to reset the room, right? Were we talking about this on Sherpa, I think? Just so everybody in the audience is aware, we're recording this. We're going to post it on DomainSherpa. So, but you're open to raise your hand if you want to come up and talk. I was trying to, LaPointe was raising his hand. I was trying to get you up here. I'll try that again. But so just so you know, you're being recorded. So speaking is consenting to be, to participating. And then we're going to be publishing it on the Domain Sherpa site as part of the podcast. This will be a podcast episode on Domain Sherpa. And so anyway, just want to let everybody know. And yeah, no, Drew, I totally feel where you're coming from. I guess my thing was, all right, so it's going to be a little while to conferences. So then I think it becomes a question. And Paige Howe's in the audience, right? So you got the Domain Show, you got NamesCon that's now making, so they've made some changes. They went through, change in ownership, divesting, GoDaddy divested it. But now we also have Clubhouse, which is, and a lot of other sort of ongoing things. You got the Domain Social, that's a weekly thing. Do we continue to see online conferences like the recent NamesCon? Does that sort of peter out for a little bit until kind of everybody sort of gets their legs under them? Is it that we just see some local events come back? I mean, I guess
here's my thing is like the NamesCon conferences online, they did a phenomenal job, right? But it's like you can only have so many of those in a year, and I to be quite honest with you, I thought the last one was pretty good, but how much different was that than the one before? I find it difficult to I don't know. I don't love it, and I think you can only have one of those a year. Otherwise, it gets a bit too repetitive.
Well, and
I
think,
agree.
And I think it speaks to the fact that you've got other ways now to interact with folks on a more regular basis. And I think Clubhouse is a perfect example. Some of the stuff like the Domain Social, which Michael Cyger actually started, and now Arif runs on a weekly basis, which is also a cool thing to, I think that that'll be going on today, I think at 3:00 Eastern time for folks who, I don't know if anybody, Mike, what's the link for that?
If they go to thedomainsocial.com, they can sign up. They don't publish a link because it leads to spammers on Zoom jumping in there, but they'll email you a link to the
so it's a
show.
Weekly Zoom that takes place. I think it's 3 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays for the most part.
Yep.
They sometimes will do special events like during the Right of the Dot auction. I know they had a room going, and and I think they do a really, really good job as well of just getting, Jonathan is Frakes is very involved, and they it's fun. I try to join when I can, and I think maybe that's some of what we'll see. Maybe that's what it is. Like you said, having sort of these bigger formal events. Where it was, before, where we didn't have alternatives and there were ongoing sort of conversations and meetups and things, at least virtually. So maybe that's what it'll look like until, but I do know once everyone can finally get back to being in person, people are going to be stampeding to get there because everybody's so ready to go. So
once I get my vaccine, I'm going to be like all over the place, licking doorknobs, hanging out wherever I can.
Hey, I just want to point out that, all the cool shit in our industry, like Domain Sherpa and the Social and DN Academy, Mike Cyger started all that. What is you see a trend there?
Yeah.
You see that? He is the common denominator for the cool shit in our industry.
He is a cool guy. He is a cool guy.
Dude, don't forget about DN Seattle. We ran that for a number of years.
I was there. I was at one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there.
Those were.
Man, I did the fireside chat at Amazon.
Yeah, you did. That was a good one. We moved it around every single year. The very first year was on the top of the Space Needle, and that was pretty awesome. So I'm going to see if we can open some.
I went to the one that was like in the basement at Enom. That was, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
When did you stop doing those, Mike?
Oh, I don't know. 2000. I think it was when I sold Domain Sherpa. I stopped doing those. But I'm feeling maybe we should resurrect those again.
Mike was like, I'm out. Here you go.
Because I do feel like those micro events, those max, 50 or 100 people where you can actually see everybody in the room and have a conversation and it's really focused. And I think those are, don't go out of style. I think that those are great.
So
great.
Before everybody, poo-pooed me for being depressing, that's where I was going
we muted it.
Like,
yeah.
I actually, it's exactly what Mike's saying. I think that's where we're going to go is you're going to just get people that are either vaccinated or people that just don't care. And they're going to just create smaller events. And so you'll have like smaller events, kind of more meetup type events. And I think that starts in the next 6 months or less. Like, I think that I think there's probably already some initiatives being worked on. I think that's probably what we're going to see before we see a big conference again.
See, that was good, man. If you could have got to that point a little quicker, then just
know your audience.
But I would agree, and I think that is what we'll start.
Hey,
to
listen,
see.
it's shock and awe. Shock and awe. That's how you get.
Although I want to put in a plug for Vegas because I heard one of our favorite friends with a big teddy bear got a new pad, and I want to go check it out.
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen, as long as there's legal weed, I'm down.
Party to Mars.
There is legal weed and there is a new pad. NamesCon 2021 in my
Yes.
At the crib. I like
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Ammar Khan.
What's
Ammar Khan 2021.
Khan.
So
I gotta go see if that's registered.
so Ammar, what's Vegas like right now? I mean, is it is it coming back to life? Like, are people just, because I think the more people that have gotten COVID, the more people that have gotten vaccinated, it's like, I know at least here, I'm in Florida, and where they act like it never was even a thing to begin with. And people are out and about, right? I mean, it's not like, concerts and packed bars, although I think there's probably a little bit of that. But what's Vegas like right now?
It's like I'm looking out my window right now, and it is like it feels normal. And other than seeing people wearing masks, I feel like it's pretty much normal. And so I think at the end of this month, everything goes back to full capacity. And
wow.
But I don't know if clubs are open yet. Because even if they were, like, I'm not going yet until we're vaccinated, and even then, I don't even know it's necessary quite yet. But so I think restaurants are open, indoors, bars are open. I think clubs are not yet open, but they probably will be by the beginning of next month, I believe. So it really feels back to normal.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see, like, I think Drew's right, and I think you are going to see these smaller, like, sort of more intimate events. And, as things do kind of in the bubbles where people are comfortable to get out and about. Paris is about to shut down for a month, right? But like you said, Vegas is about to open up completely. So, different strokes for different folks, for sure. And even wearing the mask, I mean, once you get used to it, I don't know, man, I kind of like the idea of, like, we only eat outside, but using a bathroom in like a restaurant, I'm masked up, and I'm like, I think I'm going to wear a mask anytime I go into a public bathroom from now on. I don't know why, you know what I mean? That works for me. These are some of the things that I think are positive byproducts of all of this crazy.
Yeah, your OCD is finally covered up by society.
Exactly.
You can wear your mask. You can sanitize your hands like 20 times a day. You're all good, JT.
Exactly. I'm like, yo, this is now caught up to where I'm at. Like all the hotels that are like, oh, hey, we sanitized your room and we did all these cleaning procedures and stuff. It's like, well, what were you guys doing before? You know what I'm saying?
I know, and get those bedspreads off of there, man. Those things are gross.
They're like, oh, we washed those for the first time ever, and it's like,
what I really got wrong this year was, like, I said early, like in February, I was like, oh man, Trump is going to absolutely crush this virus, because that dude was like the #1 germaphobe in the world. Like, that was like one of the few things I remember from the book I read like 20 years ago. It was like, he refused to shake hands with anybody in business, politics. He just didn't shake hands because he was like such a germaphobe. And I was like, all right, this guy's going to, throw everything he's got at this thing. And instead,
No, instead he was like, yo, inject some disinfectant. Y'all got Clorox? You have Clorox and needle?
No, it was Lysol.
It was like, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm in this angel investor group, and we just did we had a pitch session, and we're seeing a lot of stuff that is going to make things better. There's so much new technology coming out that's going to be in public places. Like one of the companies has a UVC solution that goes inside the HVAC ducts.
Yep.
So your air is getting sanitized as it comes out, right? So there's going to be some good stuff is going to come out of this. That's going to make us, make everything, I guess, cleaner, safer, whatever.
The same with commercial lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Commercial lighting is going to change too. That will kill germs just when the lights are on.
Yeah.
Right. So, so tying this all into domain
and cause
names.
cancer at the same time. It's super cool.
We're all going to be really tan.
Right.
We're going to have that.
What's that called, and what domain names do I need to register?
Yeah.
Right. I was going to say, tying it into domain names, you may want to be looking at names like, that could be used for those kind of products.
Oh, you mean something like uv.com? because
Dude,
I'm
you're
pretty
such a
sure-
hard flexer, man. God, you always have a 2-letter just on
Wait, what do you
hand for
mean?
whatever we're
What
talking
do you
about.
mean about UV.com? Why did you bring
We're-
that up, Andrew?
We're brokering UV.com for sale right now.
What? We are?
Why don't you sell it on this episode right now?
Right now, somebody step up. Who wants it? Yeah, that's the I'm like the guy riding shotgun on the infomercial. You know, it's like, and then the grill turns 360 degree. It does what? You know, and so why would you mention UV.com? We're brokering it for real. But yeah, so
and for a limited time.
yeah. Buy one now and you can get MJ.com included.
Buy one now.
Oh my
and I'll
gosh.
give you UV.horse for free.
Why don't we take some questions from people that want to actually learn something other than what Drew's brokering?
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, hey guys, to the audience, the room is open. Raise your hands. Happy to bring you up. If anybody wants to chime in about something we've been talking about, somebody wants to ask a question, it's all good. We are recording this room and we are going to post it to the Domain Sherpa site as a podcast episode. So, but yeah, the floor is open for anybody that would like to.
I've got
to
a
jump in.
question. I got a question for Chris, who's not saying anything because he's probably working on deals. He actually slipped out of the room,
I had a
disappeared
big
for like
meeting.
10
I had a
minutes.
big
He
meeting.
did.
I had to. It was like money or talk to you guys. So I'll take some
Right.
money.
So I want to know what you just sold.
No, I can't. unfortunately. I mean, NDA is a very important part of the business.
Yes.
Does anybody know if the right of the dot, those big auctions, if they actually closed?
Here's what,
Tattoo did.
Yeah, I was going to say Tattoo closed and it was the same buyer, right? So that tells me, and my understanding in my conversations with folks is that, you know, the buyer of the other two, the big ones, Bird and Fish, you know, is looking to close those deals as well. It's just, you know, working on the financing details. So that's what.
And for the people in the audience that don't know price points, which were investor sales, you want to mention those?
Yeah, man. Tattoo sold for 700, right? 700,000.
No, 750 or something
It's
like
higher.
that. Yeah, 750 or even 800.
I think it was 8.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
You know, it was pretty. I just saw an article today. I was reading some in Future Loop, which is from Singularity. Somebody just came out with a technology they actually just did it. The first remote AI tattoo. So like you literally go into a booth and like there's a tattoo artist. It's like decentralized tattoos.
Wow.
So you can have like
that's crazy.
some super fly tattoo artist who's in like Latvia, and you're sitting in a booth in Chicago, and this dude draws his tattoo on your arm remotely.
Yo,
And I
that's
was
crazy.
like, wow, that is fire.
That
and
is
then I was
really
thinking
cool.
about, and then I was thinking about, oh wow, I was like, wow, tattoo.com for 800 grand. That was a big sale. And then I'm like, oh wow, tattoo.com, 800 grand, decentralized tattoos at tattoo.com. Like,
Yo,
you know, now you got a marketplace for literally
Global,
worldwide
yeah.
tattoo artists. Whoa, that changes the economics.
yeah, that's crazy. Well, because I know a guy who actually is involved in robotic surgery, right? So same principle, just
Totally.
you know, where it's like you could have the best doctors in the world operating in far out locations, or you know, going international and all that kind of stuff. That's what they do. You know, Siemens, and you know, there's just a whole lot of big. You know, I mean, this is obviously enormous space, and you know, and they are at the bleeding edge of it. But you know, taking it
All this tech brought to you by 5G, by the way.
yeah.
You couldn't do this with 4G. It's 5G is what's required because it's.
Has anybody noticed that Braden likes to bring up the things that cause cancer?
Or the things that got Bill Gates trying to put a chip in me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What do
So-
you got, like a seed round and Bill Gates?
Yeah.
He's
what's
working
up?
for the man.
That's right. You figured me out.
He's like the vaccines, the UV light in every home, the 5G, you know, it's all about control with Braden. No, but yeah, so the
Why
tattoo.
am I the one that's taking all the punches today?
I thought you were just flexing on Drew like you own 5G.com or something.
Okay, so in Braden's support, I just sold Braden an extremely good domain name, brokered, it wasn't ours, And he was the savviest enough domain buyer to step up, see the value in this name, see how undervalued it was, and just step up and take it down without hesitation.
What was it?
Yeah, I feel like, can you guys tell us?
My hat is off to Braden. He is
Oh, come on, man. Did you just cut yourself
truly
off on purpose?
no man. People
I
keep
agree with you,
calling
Drew.
me.
I agree with you.
People keep
No, I meant you were breaking up. It sounded like you were about to tell us, and
No,
then
it's when a phone call comes in, that's what it cuts out.
but
But Drew is,
Braden's just listening right now, and he's like, "You guys don't even know. You
what's
guys
the
don't
domain?
even know."
yeah, Drew is saying nice things about me, so I want him to finish his thought.
Yeah, exactly.
well. I keep getting cut off by people that want to buy my domain names, but I'm here for y'all.
oh man, things are good. Things are good.
So yeah, I was just blowing some smoke up Braden's ass, but
I'll take it.
He is legit a seriously good domain buyer, and did just buy a very, very good domain from us. And so hats off, and we have nothing but love for Braden. We're just giving him a hard time today because he doesn't get it enough. And usually I'm the one taking all the punches, so it's kind of fun.
What is the domain?
The domain is intent.com.
Ooh,
Boom.
that's oh wait, let me see.
I was
Buyer's
kinda
intent,
shocked.
man.
I was kind of shocked that name didn't just like sell day one to I'm like the entire purpose of domain names, the entire purpose of search, the entire purpose of SEO, like marketing, advertising, all of that can be boiled down to one word, and that word is intent. It's like, what are we trying to do? You're trying to match somebody's intent with a product or a service. That's it. The whole thing can be boiled down to intent. I think it's an amazing brand. An amazing
It's probably one of my top 10. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it wasn't a tough negotiation. It was, what's the price? Is that the bottom line? Yes. Okay. It's kind of like that.
So did you get it for less than they put it in to their newsletter for?
Oh, look at Mike. Mike, man, that is a slick way to just put him on the spot.
Well done. Drew, can I answer that?
You can answer whatever you want. I don't think we have
oh, hey.
I don't think we can disclose the price without the seller's approval.
Yeah. We could say, look, here's the deal. The price that's in the newsletter is the price that's in the newsletter. Braden bought the domain, and that's it. That's what we can tell y'all,
Yeah. So reasonable
what was the
price,
price in the
killer
newsletter?
domain name.
And so it's all good. So great name. Ammar, what'd you say?
I was saying, well, so we can say what the price was in the newsletter.
Yes, absolutely. That's public information.
Right. So what was that price? So for everybody's
I don't actually remember.
It was $250,000.
Okay.
That's a great price.
Mm-hmm. Great price.
Yeah. And a great domain. So
It's a fantastic. Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's
Drew,
talk.
Drew is right.
So let's talk. So real quick. So for the folks who don't know, the right of the dot, bird.com sold for 2.5 million. Is that what it was?
Yep.
And then fish.com sold for 1.5.
Yep, something like that. 1.5.
Anyway,
1.6.
because that's where we were going before we got onto that topic of intent and everything else was that, and bringing up Todd Ryan into the room. Todd, what's up, dude? How are you? You raised your hand.
Hey, JT, thanks for inviting me up. I wanted to say about those two big ones, the 2 4-letter. I think there was a couple acquisitions this week. Sorry, that's my animal. I know Drew got wall.com and Braden picked up cold.com, and I wanted to hear what the panel thought of those two and which one they think is best. I think cold.com is just out of this world, also like wall, but I wanted to hear what the rest of the panel thought of those two and what they could tell us about those acquisitions too.
Brett, Braden, you got cold, like COLD?
That's right.
Whoa.
Damn.
That's cold, son.
That is legit.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid. The funny thing is I got cold and intent on the same day.
Wow.
Yeah,
it was an expensive day.
Wow. I mean, look, I love both wall and cold. I work for Drew, so I got to say I like wall better. but
But
Braden,
low key.
Braden, I'm gonna text you on the side and be like, "Yo, man, that name is legit."
Yeah.
Hey, look, every one of these assets is different, right? You know, you guys have an amazing portfolio. I've got a great portfolio, and you can't pit one name up against another, right?
Now we can't publish what we bought Wall for, but is what you bought Cold for public or no?
No.
Okay, that's fair. And where did you? Who couldn't you give us any insights? Let's talk about. Let's turn this into Domain Sherpa review. So we've got Braden as a Sherpa on the show talking about a name that he bought or sold recently.
Hold up. Let's. I want to take a poll. Wall.com or cold.com. Not even a competition thing. I'm really curious to hear how that's going to slice.
Okay.
How do we do that? Can you do a poll? Can you do that here?
No, I can post. We can do it obviously, verbally, and then we can post it on the, we can even post it on the, like in the description of the show or something. So, if there's, all right. Yeah, I like it. So let's go around the horn and say, just based off of which name would you pay more money for, right? You wanted to say that? Was that?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Cool.
No. I just want to know what name. Yeah, whatever. I guess it all measures the same thing.
Well, I'm just saying.
Which name you like more?
Yeah.
Which name is more valuable?
Yeah. What would you rather? All right. Yeah. Which one would you rather have in your portfolio? Right. Whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. That's the best metric. Yeah.
All right. So let's start with Drew. What do you think, man? You have Wall. Cold is now out there. How do you?
Yeah. So I mean, look, I'm a metrics-driven guy, and so this one is really tough. Looking at these numbers, on search and CPC. Search Cold is better. CPC Wall is better, but Wall's got a lot more traffic. Just type in traffic, like 4 to 5x the type in traffic, by my estimation. But
But what about
solid
industry,
names,
right? Or how did they apply?
names. So, both of them are going to be very broad. I mean, wall.com, the reason I went after wall.com was because, we just sold NFT.com, and, if that industry is obviously exploding, and in my mind, digital art deserves a digital wall. And so that was just the way I was thinking about it. If I'm thinking about the NFT space, I'm kind of like, all right, so I get it. We're in the domain space. We understand digital scarcity, but I don't really think a lot of this stuff is actually good quality art. But let's just, the market will figure that part out. And then, all right, so I don't think NFTs are going away. And so then, like, what is the next step, right? Well, after somebody spends a lot of money buying one of these things, I think they're going to want to figure out what to do with it next, right? And so in my mind, Wall was just an evolution of that space. But obviously, I'm not banking on that. And so, in my mind, it can be Wall Street. It can be, interior decoration. It can be architecture, design. It could be social media. I mean, that's what people say, like, look at my wall, post it on the wall. It could be,
security.
An art.
Yeah. Security, privacy.
Security, totally. Security, privacy.
Short for wallet.
Short for wallet. Could be a lot of things. So I and then Cold, I'm sure Braden's given more thought to what it can be, but it's got a lot of meanings too.
I think Cold, the obvious thing for me is cold storage.
Cold storage, yeah, that's what I have.
I mean, like,
yeah,
correct.
Man, I used to do a lot of cold storage. When I was in the fish business, I mean, that was half the business.
Yeah,
well, and then
as a cold wallet, right? Cold wallet.
Yeah.
And, I think that's a big one, right? And then obviously air conditioning is such a massive industry as well.
Yeah.
Well, especially now that you live in Florida, son. And also you've got, products, right? You got Yeti kind of stuff, you've got refrigerators, you've got, coolers, all sorts of stuff like that.
Don't forget about the pharmaceutical play.
Yeah.
Like, cold remedies.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Braden.
Cold and
Braden,
Cold brew, baby. Cold brew.
There you go.
Braden, we should talk offline about this, because we literally sold flu.com to one of the big pharmaceutical companies for, well into the 7 figures. And so, and that was in an outbound sale. That was not an acquisition. We were hired by another pharmaceutical company to actually sell flu.com. And we did successfully sell that for a lot. So
Was that Chris or was that you?
no, that's me. But sorry. Who sold it? Chris sold it. Yeah, sorry.
There we go.
We
Number
know
two's
who
moving to
works.
number one.
Yo, it's a good thing Chris
Team
is.
effort,
It's a
man.
good
Team
thing
effort.
Chris is
Team
on the
effort.
panel.
Team effort.
By the way, big.
Ah.
No, I'm just playing, obviously, but big shout out to Todd. Todd, this is a great question and great discussion. So this
Totally.
was really,
Hey,
really
I'm
legit.
gonna jump back down to my place in prayer, but I gotta say, I felt fortunate when Braden was talking about it the other night. Well, he was talking with Steve Kennedy one night, real late in the room, and a lot of good nuggets there. But he was generous and actually mentioned the prices of intent and cold. I remember him, of course, it burned in my head, but I was thinking cold is so much better than AC repair that Rick just sold.
Mhm.
But,
So was cold
no,
more than
all
intent?
the different reasons. Well, I'm not saying a thing. I'm going.
You already put it out there in the universe, man. People know.
This is recorded.
that
though.
was unrecorded.
Oh,
yeah.
fair enough.
Exactly.
Is it more?
But-
Was
but
it
I-
was it more than intent?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I thought about this. Braden pinged me and I thought about it a little bit. I'm like, what is the biggest addressable market that cold could apply to? And I think, you know, cold storage and all those things. And I love Wall, don't get me wrong, because of all the things that Drew mentioned. But like, this is the key when you're like thinking about a domain name. Can it apply to multiple industries? And what's the biggest industry? And I was listening to some podcast recently. I think it was like My First Million. And there was a guy on there talking about how the supply chain of food requires cold storage. So you need to transport certain goods in cold trucks, and then you have to store them at these, you know, warehouses around the United States, and they all have to be cold, and they all have certain requirements, and there's not enough storage out there. And, you know, in the next 10 years, we need to like double it, the amount of storage. And so like the cold supply chain market is a $250 billion market. The cold storage market is another, you know, 20 billion or something.
I know these people. I know the two biggest companies in the business were, you know, we were big clients, and you know, it's a B2B business. It's a completely
the people who have the money.
But they would never ever buy this domain.
No, but here's the thing. They're
would
going to
never buy
start
any
it.
domain.
Technologists are going to take over that old school industry like they are everything else.
Maybe.
And somebody's going to dominate it.
I think it's more. I mean, there's just such a big wave coming in with technology, and I don't see it going to that personally. I see it more like cold storage wallet. Something along that route, more of a brand.
Yeah, I like it. I like it as a Yeti competitor.
Yeah,
You know?
I like, truth be told, millions and tens of millions of people are going to buy a hardware wallet over the next 5 years for crypto, for Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other crypto. Okay. And like cold, like from a sort of, you know, slang perspective, is super, you know, it's hot, right?
Yeah.
Cold is hot. Cold is hot.
It connotes secure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like for a cold storage whose audience is young and hip and like, you know, up on that sort of like, they're going to feel that vibe of like, all right, we're going to call our cold storage wallet cold. And they're gonna be like, "Whoa, that's cold!" Like,
yeah, that's gonna that will
it's
go
a great
off.
brand.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. That's
that will go off.
super amazing brand for that space. And over the next 5 years, you're gonna see tens of companies pop up in that space.
We're just getting started.
Who are also going to be
yeah.
coming to the table with a whole bunch of Bitcoin and other crypto that's going to, you know, that's going to give them some very deep pockets to buy that domain name too. So it's that's an amazing one. So with that, all right.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Drew likes cold better than Wall.
well, let's go ahead. Now we got an odd number on the
I'll tell you what, man. I'm torn. I don't even know that I could properly respond. I'm really torn on these two.
Well, let's do this though, because we said that we were going to do it. We're going to go around the room and everyone's going to pick one. So now that we've talked about it, everyone pick one, and then we've got an odd number on the panel, And so we will get a winner here. So Drew, with that, go ahead. Which one? Pick one.
I'm going to go wall.
All right. We got one vote for wall. All right, Josh.
Cold.
All right, we got a vote for cold. Mike Cyger.
Cold.
Cold. Braden.
I think hands down it's cold. I mean, I would say it's wall because they're all unique and apply to different industries. So I wouldn't pick the one that I own. I would pick what I think is better, and I think it's cold easily.
Okay, Ammar.
I think wall has more outs, but cold I think will sell for more. Is more valuable, but I think wall has more outs.
Chris. Cold's already won. I should have gone in a different order, man. I should have
Yeah.
I should have thought about who's going to vote what. I've been like, I vote for wall.
I don't know. I mean, I think they're just both so good. I mean, I think they're both great names. I like the wall, the double L's, but I think they're both great.
Yeah, you got to pick one though, man. Come on.
Well, I'm picking wall.
All right.
I'm picking wall.
Drew. Hold on one second.
Hey.
Drew. You talk about soldiers. You got some soldiers. Right?
Yeah, there it is.
I literally
Right
spent
there.
hundreds and hundreds of hours in the crypto space. We sold crypto.org. They're both just great. I think they both have just great potential.
Yeah, and
Just to throw this out there are 57,633 domain names registered with the word cold in it. There are 321,728 domains registered with the word wall.
You
That's
can't
a
do that.
6x.
yeah,
Because
the data doesn't lie.
you gonna make me say it?
Say it. Go ahead. Tell them it's
Hold on,
wallet.
hold
Tell them
on.
it's wallet.
No, because look, you're gonna say it's wallet, okay? But then I take wallet, and there are 52. I'm gonna round up here. 52,000 domains registered with the word wallet. So even if you take that out,
Ooh, okay.
you're still left with 270,000 domain names registered with the word wall, excluding any domain registered with the word wallet.
Dude brought the counterpoint with
Well,
data
but-
because of that.
You jump in internet's. Identity security. A wall. That
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah,
Paywall.
Paywall.
It's only growing. The amount of companies coming in are only growing, and it's.
Does anybody want to change their vote?
You've
now?
also got to consider like what's more of a standalone brand, right? Well, the thing is with wall is that it goes with a lot of other words, right? And it's also like Wall Street, paywall, all these kind of things, right? But they're not just wall. And I feel like, for me personally, I feel like cold can stand alone a little better.
But that's why I said wall has more outs, but
Mhm.
cold is probably because the question was which one is more valuable, I guess.
No, the
or
question
which one would you
actually
rather-
was not. That's not the question. The question was, which one would you rather have in your portfolio? That was the
Right.
question.
Okay. Fine. But why would we want a less valuable name in our portfolio, Drew?
It's more complex than that, Ammar, because you have to.
Wow.
Yes.
This is what makes Drew a good salesperson.
Exactly. This
I
is why
know.
he is the motherfucking
Pitbull. Never give up.
the Dirk Diggler of domain names, man. He's letting you know right now. Like all of a sudden he's got you questioning. You're like, well, he's got a point. And it's like, well, but what did he say? I don't know, but he just had it.
Drew, hold on. I'm gonna give you a little props here. I'm gonna
Everybody
give you a little
stop. 1
props, man.
No, just stop.
Wait.
Stop.
Let him
You're
go.
going to
hold
break
on.
down value into two parts. You have total potential retail sale price, and then you have liquidity, ready liquidity.
Right.
Now,
but
you
Drew,
have to
I was
ask
going to say,
yourself,
I
if you
would
say,
say,
I
Drew,
have a
hold on a sec.
20-year time horizon,
Oh, let him
and
talk.
I don't care about the liquidity aspect of it, and you believe that cold.com could potentially sell for a higher price than wall.com, then you'd prefer to have cold.com in your portfolio. If you prefer to have things which you believe you might be able to get out of faster, then you're putting a higher value on the liquidity side. Even if you believe, which I'm not necessarily conceding, that wall.com may sell for a lower price than cold.com, then if you have that time preference and preference for liquidity, then you would take wall.com as the preferred domain in your portfolio. So there are different considerations when you're accounting. It's not just about which one's going to sell for more. The question of which one would you rather have in your portfolio is far more subjective to the objectives of the person holding it.
Yeah.
But
So-
let's define
wait.
liquidity.
All right, wait,
Hold on,
Ammar,
because-
Ammar,
because
wait,
I
Ammar,
get-
Ammar,
wait,
let Ammar
hold on,
make
I
his
get
point.
to reply.
Go ahead, man.
So the question was, I was answering it for myself, because if you have diamond hands and you don't need the liquidity, then you just hold, and you would want the one that's more valuable. So I understand you're not conceding that cold is more valuable, but for me, the reason I chose cold is, like I said, I think wall has more outs, and I agree with you. I actually think wall is more liquid, but I believe cold has the greater long-term appreciation value.
And this is
Opportunity.
this is a champagne conundrum, right? I mean, at the end of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
day,
Right. But this, well, let's talk about liquidity for a moment. I mean, because I think this is important, particularly for the audience. Now, I think what both you, but Drew and Ammar are referring to is retail liquidity, but wholesale, they're both extremely liquid, because I would buy wall.com from Drew today just as he would buy cold.com for me today. Right? Both those names, 4-letter, single syllable, one-word.com, highly the most liquid domains on the planet, right?
Gold standard.
100%. Both extremely liquid. We could sell those names in 2 minutes, right? But from a retail liquidity perspective, wall probably a little more liquid because there's a lot more uses, probably. But Drew, you're talking about the instances of use in domains, and there's more wall in domains than there is cold in domains. However, I would argue that value comes into play. So how many anything that's like New Jersey wallpaper.com is not that valuable, right? But it's an instance of wall, just like a keyword like cafe or shop or bar, that's probably used a gazillion times, but that doesn't make those names more valuable. Those are low value names for the most part, right? So all that factors in. One keyword doesn't have the same value as another. They're different animals, right? They're unique.
Yeah, I also think that you've got a couple of interesting things at play here, right? Both wall and cold are highly valuable names, but are not necessarily like they would be a unique brand by themselves, right? There aren't like any companies out there that are called wall, or any companies out there that are called cold. While like if you look at like some of other the other premium names that are owned by some of the people on the panel, like I don't know, like Drew, for example, Pegasus, right? I was talking about this the other day. Like Pegasus is like the exact match brand of so many high value companies, but at the same time, like the upside is a little bit more limited than a name like Wall. But in terms of like buyers with that raw brand, there are way more Pegasus is out there. Do you know what I mean? So like there's an element to like naming and valuation that is very, very complex, and very, very hard to understand for most people. But like from like a from like a liquidity standpoint, I almost prefer a name like Pegasus, just because the chance that it sells to an end user, I feel like are a lot higher, despite the fact that it would be at a lower price point.
I appreciate the fact that Josh's picture on his Clubhouse image is wherever he's at right now with all those people in the background. And but yeah, I think that at the end of the day, cold and wall. I mean, if you're saying you'd rather have Pegasus than cold or wall, I mean, is that kind of what you're?
I might prefer to have Pegasus than Wall. Yeah.
That's a bold statement, Cotton.
I would take Pegasus over Wall too. I think. I don't know about
Really.
Yeah. I love Pegasus.
Wow.
I would take
I mean,
Wall.
I love Pegasus too, but
No, I would take Wall for sure.
yeah, I mean, my experience is that 4-letter.com domain names are unmatched in their 4-letter single syllable words.
I can't argue with that for sure.
They're just all of the domains that I've sold that for just eye-popping numbers. It's like it's an overwhelming majority of them that are 4-letter single syllable words.
But what about like a name like shut.com, for example? I know you own that one, right? Shut.com.
Yeah,
like,
but that's
not
why
in the
that's
same-
why I said positive connotation.
Well, you could say that cold's not necessarily a positive connotation.
That's why I voted for Wall. That and the
That-
fact
yeah,
that I work
yeah,
for
that-
Drew.
You can also say that wall is not necessarily a positive connotation, right? You talk about
What,
security.
only if you're driving into one. What sense,
Or
in
only
what
if you
sense
put,
is wall a
if
negative connotation?
well, if you're
You can put-
putting
no, you
up
put up
putting
a
up
wall.
walls is like looked at as like closing people off and like not being as open as maybe you otherwise would be.
Yo, how about Wall Street bets? There's another use case.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot. I'm curious to know what Mike would prefer to own, Pegasus or Wall.
Oh, Firewall also.
Firewall.
Yeah,
Paper.
I generally I like those brands like Pegasus or, well, Swan, but that's a 4-letter. But in this case, I think I would take Wall over Pegasus. I think there's probably more applications and more than Pegasus.
Yeah, I love both names. I would take Wall over Pegasus though in a heartbeat. But
but they're probably not the same price, and so then you got to throw that into the equation.
and that's one thing.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Like Wall's always going to be priced higher than Pegasus,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
I would
doubt about it.
suspect.
Well, and we didn't talk about this for the Cold v Wall debate, but Cold is probably more expensive to acquire than Wall by some amount. So but
I bet they're
How
about
much
the
is Wall?
same.
How much
I
is
know
Wall,
more or
Drew?
less. I'm not going to say.
I bet
I
they're
know more or
probably
less.
similar.
I think Braden and I probably paid pretty similar prices for the two. I don't know what he paid for Wall, but for Cold, but I know more or less what Braden's threshold is, and I just we're more or less on the same page.
So anyway,
Probably, yeah.
well, that was great discussion. Thank you, Todd, for that. We just brought Mark Smith up. So everybody's aware, we are recording this room, and we will look to post it up on our Domain Sherpa podcast as a Domain Sherpa podcast sometime following the end of this session. But you're more than welcome to come on up, raise your hand if you have a question or want to talk about something specific. We're going to keep the room open for a little while here. Mark, how you doing, man? What's going on, dude?
Doing well. Thanks for bringing me up, Jonathan. I just wanted to throw my 2 cents out on the domain discussion that you were having. I absolutely love Cold, assuming that's cold.com. I think that would be like the best possible name for someone that wants to sell cold storage wallets for crypto. Like that. Yeah, I think that's the best out of them personally.
Yeah, and that was the vote. The vote shook out officially 4-3, Cold over Wall, and it is cold.com and wall.com. And and cold storage was kind of everybody's front of mind, application for Cold. And I think that's where there's going to be a real opportunity for Braden, who owns Cold, who just bought it, to really, maximize that when he sells it, if and when he eventually sells that domain. So what else is going on? So for those of you who don't know, Mark is involved with the Handshake domains, which we've been talking about a lot. And we talked about, we talked Unstoppable Domains on Domain Sherpa earlier this week, or actually last week. But, we talk about Handshake a lot too. You got anything, Mark, that you want to share? I mean, have you guys, so for Cold as a Handshake domain, has that been sold? Is that available? What's the status of Cold, Wall, those kind of names at Handshake? Are those already GTLDs or no?
That's a good question. Let me check. Looks like Cold sold for 75 HNS, which is like under $30.
Oh man,
Nothing.
In October.
Of course, it's listed on the aftermarket for $3 billion right now.
No, it's not even on the aftermarket. So I don't know. Yeah, it might be privately held, or they're just not selling at this point. But the community is definitely coalescing around building out more infrastructure from like a grassroots ground up sort of perspective. We raised during HandyCon last week. The auction went until like 1 a.m. Central Time, and we ended up doing $28,000 in sales for names. 11,000 went to the HNS fund, nice. And there was also Handshake Jesus contributed $50,000 and is also forming a Handshake Institute, which would be a 501c3 that is going to be completely community based and focus on developing that. So
That's awesome.
A lot of exciting things happening in the background. We're also working on a community driven name gifting effort, because a lot of us have tens and hundreds of names that we want to just freely give away for their the rightful stakeholders. So we're working on a way to be able to expedite that process.
Wow, that's awesome.
Very cool. That's very much in line with what I said when I spoke with the HandyCon last week, that, I think the community needs to sort of circle around is getting those names that people got for, very little or nothing, basically, and just getting them into the right hands, because I think squatting on them is going to, impede adoption.
Squatting. Be careful with what you say.
but I mean, I'm using it in its in its intended way. I mean, I'm only referring to names that are truly, squatted. If you've got something that's, fair game, then by hell no, don't give it away. I'm capitalist number one. But yeah, I think for Handshake to get like sincere browser adoption, in the coming years, I think the community's really got to be proactive about self-governing and, not holding people over the coals on these trademark names.
Yeah, that's definitely socially frowned upon in the community, and I personally anyway am trying to set that precedent that if you have a specific name that needs to be gifted, it's it's to everybody's benefit that the obvious stakeholder for a name that only has like one or two people that could possibly own it, end up owning that name. Like I own Pontiac, and I picked that up for like nothing, because I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be floating around. So let me just grab that real quick. And I think a lot of people do the same thing, and I'll end up gifting that for free.
Although Pontiac, do they even make cars anymore? That might be fair game.
I don't even know. I just saw it. I was like, oh yeah, that's in like my availability heuristic. Like, yeah, let's just grab that, and like a couple of others. But generally speaking, I don't go after specifics like that. I'm much more interested in generics, and right now I'm looking more at any of the like Unicode or emoji symbol side of things, just because I think that like the progression of NFTs in general is really interesting. Kind of started with artist generated, and that was really cool. But then we had organizational minted, like Top Shots, where you have the authority of the intellectual property that bestows additional meaning and context to that additional value. And then Mooncats now is all the rage, which is contract generated, so it's perceived as an even higher authority than an organization. And so with the Unicode and Punicode, you have protocol natives. Like that's like owning symbols that are native to the internet itself. And I think that eventually that will become a collectible item.
Hey, Mark, let me ask you, I tuned on to your Clubhouse chat late last night, but I thought I heard Tejan speaking, and was he saying something that if you own a Handshake top level domain, you can soon offer second level domains for sale through 101 domain and gateway.io and other sites soon?
Yeah. Yep. You heard correctly. Yeah, they're expanding that. I mean, that's been available since like last summer or fall, I think, is when I had .gin and .mke listed, but that was definitely a very small short list of names that were released during that.
Right.
But yeah,
there's a beta test, and they're getting ready to open it up to anybody that has a top level domain.
You got it. Yep. So gateway.io will, it sounds like, be listing any name that's posted. So I mean, like if you could have some random string and they'll list it. 101 and Encirca are going to be a bit more discerning. So that's going to create an interesting value prop in itself of like, okay, like anybody can, become a registry and sell at Gateway, but if you were accepted at 101 or Encirca, then you're going to have a higher level of prestige and value attributed to
right. Totally. And so that's just crazy. I've been following, I think, Clay Collins on Twitter, who said that he's got an annual run rate of like $90,000 for his .c, just a single letter .c as in Cyger, Charlie. So yeah, I'm just amazed that people are buying second level domains for something that doesn't even resolve on the internet yet, unless you're using an IP, gateway or the Puma browser on your iPhone.
Hey guys, I just
Yeah.
need to say, I need to say bye real quick. My battery's like about to die.
Yeah,
Appreciate
me too.
everyone.
I actually have to go as well. But this was super fun and super informative. And Mark, you the man. Thank you everybody for joining. And I'll let you guys all wrap it up.
Well, yeah,
I gotta run.
And I think timing wise, we told everybody that we'd cut it at an hour and a half. I just realized what time it was, but yeah. So Andrew, Josh, thank you so much. I think we could probably spend another, we should actually just do a session for Handshake and some of the decentralized internet stuff, because it's such a popular topic. It's a key front of mind thing for a lot of us in the domain space. And there is some extremely exciting things happening with some really smart people doing some really, really cool shit. And, in that space right now, which is why, so much, we were talking about it offline, online, all that kind of stuff. And and there's a lot that we can, again, talk around it and about it. So I think we'll probably, do a special, whether it's Clubhouse session or we can talk on Sherpa. But yeah. And so let's do this. I mean, I'm going to probably shut the room and then we can open up another one. But for the purposes of the podcast, to try to, let's box it up, since Drew's out, Josh is out, and I know some of the other guys got to go as well. Then for the purposes of the recording, I'm going to shut that down here in a second. So what I want to say is thank you very much to the panel and for everybody who was here. It really, really means a lot, and it's really great for the audience. And thank you to the folks like Mark, Todd, and others who jumped in with either questions or comments. And most importantly, thank you to the audience, both here in the room on Clubhouse and then also on DomainSherpa. Without you guys, we wouldn't be doing what we do. And we really, really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk and to educate and to just do what we do. So just want to say thanks, everybody. And we will catch you everybody next time here on DomainSherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Thanks again and talk soon.